Good afternoon, everybody. This is Kathleen Bertrand, BronzeLens Film Festival, and I'm delighted to be back again for another edition of BronzeLens Live, and very excited about my guest. But before my guest joins us, let me see who's with us. I am Sydney Peterson. Hey, Sydney. Good to see you. Tinsley 3346. Thank you for joining us. Poetics, thank you for joining us. Janelle Nicole, how are you? J.O. Love 10, thank you so much. Green Paper Products, how are you? Just delighted that everyone will join us. William Roebuck, you made my day. It wasn't going to be complete until I saw you. Thank you for joining us today. Our guest today is someone that you all know, and he's a friend of our family, our BronzeLens family. Hey, Miss Rhea, thank you so much for being here with us today. And this is an exciting week for us. Hi, Linda. Ms. Wiedenhout. Linda has a marvelous shop out at Phipps Plaza, and she's done many of my outfits. Good to see you. Kim Cindy, Crystal A. King. Hey, Crystal. Glad you could join us. Janelle Nicole, you're great. Yes, ma'am. Good. Queen Diva 87, how are you? Thank you for joining us. As I said, this is a very interesting week for us because next week at this time, BronzeLens Film Festival will be live and rolling in our virtual space. Something new for us, and I'm going to talk about that a little later at the end of my conversation with my guest. But just know that the sausage making is taking place right now. Lots of moving parts and an amazing team. We have a truly amazing team that is part of BronzeLens, and so that's what allows us to go forward, because we are all in our homes on our computers, but we are working as one unit, and that's what it takes. It's that collaborative spirit, and it's also that collaboration of purpose, determined to bring something to you, our viewers, and our filmmakers. So that is why we are existing. Let me see who else has joined us. New Vision Wares, how are you? Directed by Morgan. Thank you for joining us. Alexis Georgie, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, but thank you for joining us. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Want to get a few more folks in the space. Let me see. Betty Bailey, glad to see you with us today. Thank you very much. Yeah. This is, Deidre McDonald, our BronzeLens artistic director, is on. And Deidre and her team have done just an amazing job of curating the films that you will see next week for BronzeLens Film Festival. We have 76 films in all that we will show beginning on Tuesday of next week, all the way through next Sunday. I forget, my God, it's so much. But we are really looking forward to sharing the creativity of these wonderful filmmakers from all over the world. Canada, New Zealand. Oh, I just had my list here a minute ago. I could tell you. I just had my list. But yeah, we have some amazing filmmakers that you're going to see. So it's going to be good. Taharka, good to see you. Thank you very much. Taharka was with us a couple of weeks ago talking about this whole virtual space of creativity. And man, it's just amazing what can be done and what you can do. Let me see. This is LaDonna Shari. Thank you for joining us, LaDonna. Glad to see you on the BronzeLens Live today. And let me see. Who else did I miss here? I am E.J. Little. I think I got that. Yes. Hi. And this is Lilim I can't read that, but you know who you are. DNL joined us, and thank you for that. So I hope everybody is staying safe wherever you are. Uh, we are in the midst of a pandemic, okay? And I think some people don't take it seriously enough to really realize the gravity of these times when it comes to protecting our health. Hi, Stephanie Grant. Um, it's important to continue to wear your mask to protect the other person. That's consideration, and they wear their mask to protect you. It's not like you're keeping something in to yourself, but that's what it is. It's about mutual love for everybody, you know? Beautiful singing at John Lewis service. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. So I'm hoping everybody's wearing your mask and that you're washing your hands when you come in the house. You know, as soon as you come in the house, wash your hands, change your clothes. It's not a bad thing to do, but certainly keep the mask on and just stay safe. Watch what you're eating. You know, eat healthy, eat good foods these days because that's necessary too to keep the body not only replenished but in its best shape to fight and to be resistant to germs. You know, you have to do those things. Let me see. Atasha Sharp joined. Thank you. Chantelect number one. I might not get it, but you know, y'all know these names. I cannot always read the little bitty letters and what everything means and says, and it's special to you. And so I try not to butcher it, okay? Aquarius Beauty, thank you very much for joining us. And our guest will be joining us shortly. Tandy Reddick, how are you? Good to see you. And our guest is in the house, all right? So ladies and gentlemen, please join me in welcoming my very special guest that I've known. I'm so grateful that he could join us today. Let me push back so I'm not too close to everything. And we're waiting for it to connect. And there he is! Hey, Omari, how you doing today? Good to see you. Let me just see you for a minute. I just got to look at you for a minute.
I know, I know I need to do
I
the
can
same
hear
thing.
you.
It's good to see you too.
I can hear you. I haven't seen you, I think since Jay Bailey's wedding. That was the last time we tried to hook up back in, what, February? But
Yeah,
I
it
think,
was. I think we were going into the last chapter of Power, right? Like that
yeah,
final 6 episodes or whatnot.
yes, yes, yes. And I was trying
I think
trying
we
to
were
see
trying
you,
to. And then I
lay
went
my
right into
eyes on
work.
you.
I actually went into three. It was a movie at that point was I think it was a Nate Parker movie, and then actually Courtney and the producers of Power let me do that movie, which was May, something like that. Then I went
Yeah,
back after that movie to finish Power, and then went into 2 movies back to back. That one was 3 months long and one was 2 months long. So
because you went to South Africa, right? Somewhere in there you went to
yeah,
South Africa.
I did I went to New Mexico first, Kathleen, to do Army of the Dead, soon come on Netflix, and then that was 3 months long, and then had to come to New York to do the premiere for Power.
Mm-hmm.
Finished 2 more months, of course, of that New Mexico movie. And then I went to South Africa after barely a break. I had a 2 week break, did some music in between. And then Loretta Devine and myself made that trek to South Africa to shoot that film for Paramount called Spell, which was really great. Great experience. So I've
Oh
been
my
busy.
goodness. You were texting me on the plane. That's how,
Was it
how we
really?
were
Oh, yeah,
missing.
I remember that. Yeah,
You were
because
texting me.
all of us, all of us know, any of us who deal with Kathleen Bertrand, we all know. You should all send a one in right now, like I do when I do my IG live chats. And if you know Kathleen, then you know she is quite the convincing human being, and she don't care where you are. She don't care at all. She don't give nary a care. And you can be in the middle, you can be in the shower, Kathleen, like, yeah, but lean your hand out of the shower stall and use the, Tell me, can I? What's up, bro? What a one, if y'all agree. I love
But
it. That's
thank
why I'm here.
you. Thank you.
Love it.
I appreciate
How's
it.
the family, KB? Family okay?
Everybody's good. You know, I'm always just keeping my children and family covered in prayer
That's it.
because, you know, that's what we have to do. And I have my mantra of washing your hands and putting on your mask. And they've heard that from mom for a long time. And I just lost a friend a couple of days ago. Just
Oh
found
man,
out
so
about,
sorry.
you know. And so it's really strange, Omari, because you're trying to remain centered and focused on what it is that you need to do, but you can't help but be touched by so much loss of life all around you, you
Yeah,
know.
it's an interesting sort of mix of emotions because I started feeling like any of us who were executors, we appreciated and embraced quarantine, and probably went so far as to think we should probably add it into our lives from here out, where we have 2 to 3 to 4 weeks off. But
Right.
equally, we were trying to juggle those emotions with, you know, because if you are an executor, you're able to sort of now channel that into a sort of meditative, contemplative place of having more clarity as to what to do going forward. But then you were juggling that, as you said, with the emotions of losing loved ones, which is
Yeah,
crazy. I lost my security guard, which you knew.
that's right.
And then recently, a brother, credible brother from, very special cat from Houston, Texas, he sort of helped start the poetry scene with me in LA, with me and me and 4 other people that are sort of the grandfathers of the poetry scene in LA. And
Mhm.
this brother lost his 22-year-old daughter, Kathleen. So that's what's really hard, is that we were told, of course, at the beginning, nobody said wear masks. And then what you try to get this guy that's running our country or in a position to be called the runner of our country, and that being President Trump, you try to, I don't necessarily respect him, but I respect the title. But you try to get him to understand, you know, people actually follow the lead of a leader, even if you're coined a leader, and half of people don't necessarily call you a leader. And so we went from no
Right,
mask and then washing your hands or back to mask, and you were told that 22-year-old people would not pass away. And yet, you know, you got a
right.
lot of young people that are equally finding their days on earth ending because of this disease. So it's a weird time, absolutely.
Very, very weird time. So let's go back a moment, if you would, because I remember before I met you, you know, I know your dad and we go way back, right? And so I ran into your dad the year I was doing BronzeLens Film Festival. It coincidentally, and he said, "Well, you know, my son, huh? Are you there? You okay?
I think
You
it's
okay?
is it my phone?
Yeah.
Hold on, let me see. Trying to make this signal better.
Okay. All right.
Hold on for a minute.
Yep, no worries. We're
You
used
got
to
me?
that. We
Okay.
know.
I
I got
think that
you.
worked. That's better.
Okay. We know in
Yep.
this
So
in the
you were talking about Pops. You were saying
yeah,
about Pops.
I had run into him. I've known him for many years, and he says, "Yeah, you know, my son's on this show on TNT called Dark Blue." And I
Mm,
said, "Really?" And that he knew you were coming to Bronze Lens for our first year,
mm.
and he wanted to make me aware that you know you weren't just somebody just showing up, that you had done some good work, deep
Mm,
work long before that, right?
mm.
And so you came to Bronze Lens. Ava invited you because you
Yep.
were starring in I Will Follow.
Yep. Wow.
You You remember that? And you and Salli Richardson were the first hosts of the very first Women's Superstars Luncheon.
Yes, I do remember that.
Okay,
Absolutely.
so that's why you are in Bronze Lens history forever. It will
Oh, that's
never.
so humbling, man. That's so humbling to me. I so
And that
appreciate it, Kathleen.
luncheon has grown. I'm so sorry we couldn't do it this year, but it grew from that 300 people to 750 people that came last year.
So it just keeps growing.
Yes, sir. But you
It's
got us off
you know
to a
what's
great
interesting
start.
is you start to realize that I mean, you know, that word essential is interesting also during this quarantine time. And there is never, and I say this and I mean it, any men who understand the level of essential nature that women possess and that we couldn't do anything without women, particularly those of us who come from Black women and know the essential nature of Black women, not just aesthetically, but also from a standpoint of being intrinsically and internally extremely strong. You kind of never don't expect for something created by women, which BronzeLens was created by, to not go. And we got to do better with that as Black people anyway, in terms of that word expectancy. We got to start to expect that the thing, when we step up to the plate, if it's analogous to baseball, that we actually not only going to get on first base, but that we might round second and head to third. And so I kind of expected for it to take off when you and I, you know, and I met you and Salli and I were doing that tour. I did. I expected it, but nobody would have thought that, I wouldn't have thought that we'd still be in conversation presently, not only about the origin or the genesis of that, but the fact that all of these people have subsequently come through BronzeLens. All of these films have been celebrated on the platform and the stage of BronzeLens, and that has become a beacon within this place called the New Hollywood, which is a town that raised you and I. You know, first of all, I didn't even know Atlanta would ever be considered a place of working in this industry God called me to. So for BronzeLens to become so integral in that New Hollywood is just so freaking good. It's so cool.
Thank you. Thank you. I think I'm going to take that little clip right there and play it forever. Omari Hardwick.
You're going to double up the efforts. Two birds with a couple words. Two birds with a couple words.
Okay, so you did that with Ava. You did Middle of Nowhere with Ava, which went on to win at Sundance and really just catapulted her work out there. So I got an invitation from you one summer to come and see the very first screening of this brand new show that you were the star of. You weren't just a character, you were the lead in it. And we had a little talk before because I asked you what it was like to carry the lead, so many people following you. But that was the very first episode of Power. You remember that screening?
Absolutely. Of course I do. Of course. You make a, I wrote a line a long time ago on a poem, Kathleen, where I said, and I've said it recently to a group of people, but I said, you know, though many think I know many, my closest circle of soulmates, I keep it small as a penny. And I remember rehearing it in terms of when you hear yourself say something. And it came to me almost like revisiting great books. Like, you know, a lot of people who've read The Alchemist or Paulo Coelho's Alchemist, you know, they revisit it almost in a biblical way of checking in with it and seeing where they are. It's a litmus test to see where you are in your journey. And I think back on that part of me. And the litmus test for me is who I invited to these milestone or landmark moments of graduation. And I think about that, and it's like, that's that circle. That's that you know, that you can highly trust. That'll take you for who you are. You know, the nut of complex yet simple giver, big team, little I cat that I am. I absolutely understand now more than ever, Kathleen, that I'm not obviously in this industry of essential work. I'm not a nurse, not a doctor. I don't work clerically at a medical facility, let alone again running the hospital or running it from the perspective of saving the lives of people who have COVID. I'm not a military personnel. I'm not delivering food to and from all of these essential workers. I always knew that, but more than ever, it's become apparent. Like, we're not essential workers. We as actors, producers, directors, the likes, we're even the NBA basketball players, all the way to the Major League Baseball players, over to the National Football League players. We are mere entertainers, and maybe we do medicinally help someone who believes they can be more, who needs a moment to get away. Comedians especially, they absolutely provide medicine and humor. Don't know where life would be without funny people, but I've learned during quarantine that I'm essential as a human being. And I never necessarily thought about it as much as during this moment when my work is not being called upon, but yet the insight or whatever wisdom I can impart, or just a throwing of an arm, like the culture, you know what I mean? Like, to ask Omari to, which I thought was amazing, to ask me to be a part of the commencement for all the HBCU schools. This landmark, that was for me, I'm like, wow. For JP Morgan Chase to say, hey, yeah, it becomes a real interesting thing to have people say, can you talk about financial health? Can you talk about where we are as a community and what we don't have and what we need? And, you know, I want to almost humorously go, well, you don't need actors. You don't need us. But you definitely need people that are pretty cool within those respective industries who might have a cool perspective, you know, on whatever. So I've definitely learned that. And it's kind of interesting to look back now and to remember that moment where I was like, damn, Kathleen, I got to go be this thing that I'm not great at being, which is titled The One. I'm super cool with carrying the weight and the responsibility of being the one. And I absolutely know God gifted me with all of that gift to be the one. But
that was our conversation. That was exactly our conversation. Were you ready to be the one?
I'm still at that place.
Yes.
Did I say it like that at that point?
Yes.
It's hard for me. It's still hard for me. Like, it's like, it's Black. It's very poverty mentality. It's not something that I feel we should aspire to maintain. But I absolutely love our people because we come from such a humble village mentality that it's hard for us to ever envision going back to the village and having the village go, nigga, you ain't new. You still stink when you use the bathroom. True. You need to take the trash out. True that. Twice.
Your folks will keep it real. Yeah.
So there's moments that you're like, I so know it. I totally get it, to the point where, you know, me and a large faction of men and women who look like me, who are in my respective specific position within this industry, we run from that thing that maybe Matt Damon or Chris Pine or Leo DiCaprio or Tom Hardy or any of these cats that don't look like us, but perhaps share the same talent that we share. They come to the plate, expecting the round first, round second, round third, bring it on in the home plate. So that's been an interesting thing for me to embrace it, to embrace my power during the show called Power. Like, that's been it's a journey for me. I'm still processing, but I'm getting better at it, I think.
Well, speaking of power, because I know a lot of your fans are a part of this thread, how did you get the call for Power? When did that happen? And tell us a little something about that process.
Circumstances behind it. So it was ironic. The call was an email. It was simply an email. And at the time, my manager, Troy Zion, who was working with Terry Crews at the time, and working with a couple other guys that I knew really, really well. And he called me and he said, hey, there's a project. It's a 50 Cent untitled project. And I had already prior gone out for this comedy, Kathleen. The comedy was on HBO. And in my mind, I was like, let me try my muscles at that. Let me try, you know, my comedy bones. Okay. And so it was a 30-minute. The guy who wrote it, or one of the three writers, he might have been one of three writers, or he might have been the writer, but his name is Bashir, really cool cat. And Bashir, ironically, was one of those smart writers who went to acting class to learn more about his craft as a writer. And so he could impart that in pen, which is brilliant. And Bashir was was super dope dude who went to Harvard. So he knew the lights on the hallways or the canals of history that, you know, the brown people of President Obama nature knew, or Hill Harper, my frat brother and friend. And so Bashir kind of told me, yo, I wrote that, and I'm like, oh, I'm auditioning for that. It's dope. And it was really about Black men on a hallway at Harvard University within the campus trying to figure life out, but it had a comedy element to it that was just out of this world. I loved it. And he called me and asked me about this project called Power. And he said, just give it a read. And I read the pilot and I hit him back and I was like, the lead guy sounds interesting. The guy Ghost, he sounds interesting. But I said, I feel like I can't tell whether all the characters are flushed out in the way that I need them flushed out. And perhaps it's coming from theater, you know, being a stage guy, you need all of the parts to work in a kind of cohesive way where everybody's going in a progressive same direction. And maybe that's equally being an athlete. I kind of think I need all my teammates. Like he stood out as the guy. He was like the guy. And to your great point, Kathleen, that was the whole thing I was supposed to be embracing. Like, nah, this story is kind of built and centered around this guy. But because it didn't, and because it didn't have 2 and 3 and 4 as prominent as you said, 1, it kind of made me shy away from it a bit. We go to, I think Nova's 6 months, 7 months old at the time. She's almost 8 now. So we go to Cayman Islands to get away, just to get away. Hadn't gotten away yet since Nova was born. So we get away, and en route, Jay brings up to me, which is rare. She only brought up one prior job before in terms of asking me about it, and that was being Mary Jane. Being Mary Jane, her big thing was you need to embrace being a sex symbol. You don't embrace it well, you suck at it. Yes. You need to embrace it, because if you want all of these dreams to happen in the direction that they need to happen, you got to embrace that. And I always run from it, and I kept running from it. And so she was like, being Mary Jane will give you that thing. So she had only brought that kind of direction or attempt to direct me into a certain direction. She had only really done that with being Mary Jane. And so we're on the plane en route to the layover, which is Houston, Texas, to go to Cayman. And I'm like, from LA, you know, we were living in LA at the time. And I said, she said, what happened with that job? You know, it's like an untitled 50 Cent project thing, whatever. And I took note of it, Kathleen. I took, you know, like, damn, why she asking me? I said, nah, you know, me and of course I added the manager in. I'm like locking him by his head figuratively of like, yeah, he equally agreed with me. Like, nah. And she was like, nah, I think you're supposed to do that. Really?
Wow.
And she was like, no, I think you're supposed to do it. And then we went to Cayman. She didn't bring it up again. Just, you know, alpha personality, A-type personality, a fellow Capricorn. So she said it once and that was it. Get to Cayman, 7 days, chill out, whatever. Loving this new fatherhood moment with Nova. And get back on the plane, KB. Get back on the plane, head back, lay over in Houston again on the way back. Dude calls, the manager, Troy Zion calls and goes, yo, they won't take no for an answer. So I excitedly go, the HBO comedy, Bashir's project? He's like, no, not that one. That one went to somebody else. And ironically, it went to my dear friend Dorian Missick, which I was so happy about. You know Dorian, of course.
You know Dorian.
Of course you do. So it went to Dorian. So I was so happy. At that time, Kathleen, Dorian had just come back from having heart failure. He fought through that. We thought we'd lose Dorian. He and his wife were battling. I was part of that prayer circle of prayer warriors to aid him through that. So my heart just leapt that he got it. I was like, ah. And he was like, no, the other project. I said, what other one? He said, the one that you and I both were like, eh. I said, really? He said, yeah, it's a meeting that's being requested of you to at least sit down and hear them out about it. And I was like, all right. And he said, with the creator. He said, the creator's name is Courtney Kemp.
Met Courtney before? You had never met Courtney before that?
Nothing. I met 50 in passing in life, but like in passing. Never worked with stars. As you know, I was home to TNT at that point. So in terms of a network relationship. So he said Courtney Kempagbo, and I said, well, that's a gender neutral name. My spirit KB said it was a woman. So he said, let me hit you back. My spirit said a woman. So I'll tell you whether it's a woman or a man. He hit me back. He said, it's a woman. It's a Black woman. I was like, word? I said, how do I not know about a Black woman creating a show of this content where you have a magnanimous, duplicitous, really complex cat at the center who's a Black guy? How do I not know about a woman who's a Black woman having created this? And he said, I'll meet with her. So if we got back from Cayman on, let's say Saturday or Sunday, I was meeting her by Tuesday. Burbank Studios with Anthony Hemingway, who apparently had called and said, I know the right guy for Power.
You there? Mhm. Okay. Omari?
You got me back?
Yes, now you're
Okay.
back. Yes. Okay.
So when he apparently KB, he hit Courtney and said, I got the right person for this. It's Omari Hardwick. And Courtney and the team was like, that's who we're looking at. We're looking at a couple other people, you know. Boris Kojo was up for it, Laz Alonso.
Whoa.
This cat Ricky, who I think is part Latino, as is Laz. Laz is part Cuban. Laz is not part, he's Cuban. But this cat Ricky, who's a really dope actor, ended up doing Demons and whatever, the other star show. But he was up for Power against me. And it was, so after I met with her, I was like, it was about 10 minutes in. I said, I'm absolutely on board. And so I get home, I tell Jay how the meeting goes. And ironically, KB, this is what's really crazy. She had been praying in these early months of Nova's life, thinking that my career needed to be at another place and that it wasn't at that place. It created out of her a specific prayer. She was following this guy, Judah Smith, at the time. And Judah had a visiting pastor who I've since not only learned, but learned to love and I'm a big fan of, and that being Pastor John Gray. How ironic. I mentored Draymond Green, a big brother / mentor. And so John Gray, I formally met when I went to the Golden State playoffs about 3 years ago. But I definitely knew of John Gray. And I know Rotimi kind of was getting advised by John Gray, which I learned obviously after I said yes to Power and Rotimi came on to Power. And so she had been praying, and John Gray had a sermon while visiting Judah Smith's church, and the sermon was about dominion. So she had turned this prayer into a 30-day practice. I think there was fasting involved in it. Us fasting, whatnot. And she just kept praying that I embrace my power and my dominion over this industry. And we didn't have the title of the show at the time. And then ultimately we learned that it was actually titled that, which was in her prayer. So it's a crazy story, but I ended up auditioning.
An amazing story.
Yeah, it's crazy. But I ended up auditioning KB like 5 times. And I think it was offered originally, but egos are egos, and it wasn't Courtney and 50. It wasn't their ego at all. I think it was Stars, and their whole thought was like, he said, no, you're going to jump through hoops to get this part. You're going to prove to us that you're the guy.
Right.
So as an athlete,
absolutely.
So as an athlete who not only, as pledged, a fraternity, and that being Alpha Phi Alpha Incorporated, I equally have always felt like a pledger, just in terms of perhaps my like of God. And, like is such an underrated word. I like God. I treat him like a homie. I talk to him. So I feel like my life has always been this big ass pledge. And so I was kind of like cool with the audition process. I'm like, all right, let's rock out. And the rest is obviously in the history books.
So at what point did you, you talked about embracing your power and Jay praying that you would do that, but there had to have come a point when you knew this is it. This what we have created, and based on the fans and people calling my name everywhere, we have reached a whole different stratosphere. When did that hit you?
Monaco. Summer Monaco, me and 50 promoting the show. Monaco.
What season was that? Was that one, two? 3 for
Going into 3.
Okay. Okay.
Going into 2, France and Italy. France for no, not Italy. France for the NIP, which is sort of like the TV Cannes Film Festival, or the equivalent to the Cannes Film Festival. It was called NIP. And
Okay.
I went with 50, took a bunch of pictures of cutouts of Joseph and cutouts of Notori, cutouts of Leela, because they didn't get to go. So I just wanted them to feel like they were a part of it. And I would send them like this life-size cutouts of them or whatever. Going into season 2, KB, was me and 50 again, Monaco. Walking around crazy. Walking around and looked up and saw, or it might have been maybe Monaco was going into season 4, which would have been the jail season. It's coming out of 3, going into season 4, the incarceration season. So, because Brave was born at that point. So we're coming out of season 3 again, going into 4, which was when I started music, KB, ironically. But in Monaco, I'm walking and looking up, and you're in another country. I'm in another country. And it's a freaking huge thing of me on a poster, you know, like hanging on a crazy, KB. Hercules. Crazy to me. So I looked up and I did a post about it, but I said in the post that when I was a kid, because Mom's was home, she was a school teacher, but she was home during a certain point. And KB, I had an issue with having all of these crazy complexities in me that we know are in us by the time we're 3 years old, let alone 10 or 11, right? You know this as a mama, you know it as a daughter. And you're ambitious, KB. So ambitious people really know this. So I had a lot of stuff in me, and I was very aware of it early. And so I used to understand really early that Hallmark cards, figuratively speaking, only really mattered during Valentine's. That the reason that we loved the Temptations or the Four Tops, or that I love New Edition or Jodeci or Rakim or LL or Back to Phyllis Hyman, Over Gladys Knight, Donny Hathaway, Aretha.
Yes.
Pat Benatar, Susanna Vega. I love that we all listened to everybody's music during that time. You know, down to Michael Prince and Janet, who I got to work with one day. Like, my life is crazy sometimes when I pinch myself, as you know. I absolutely start to think in a way of the pain and the melancholy and the bag of whatever is that's needed to be the artist that I kind of knew I was. And I was a great athlete. So I had this artist thing going, but I was a really, really great athlete. So those two compete anyway. But I kind of knew, like, you need some grit or whatever that is. You know, everybody's got their own And with Mama being home, I actually didn't think it made sense for me to have this thing God put in me. Because where was I going to draw if I wasn't a latchkey kid who had to figure out life without Mom being at the crib? I thought it by like 7 years of age. I'm like, it's too much of a spoiled reality that I go home to actually my mother opening the door versus myself. So I thought like that. I didn't know.
You're way ahead of your time.
But I didn't know, you know, you don't know that you're a poet. And you wake up one day and then you write the same way you were thinking. And you go, oh, okay, I get it. But I'm looking up and I see this. And what I posted about it while in Monaco was, this is funny. I used to ask my moms if she could drop me off at the front of the neighborhood, the subdivision we lived in. I'm from Decatur, as you know. I grew up on Wesley Chapel and Snapfinger Road. And I would say, can you drop me off at the front of the neighborhood? Knowing that she was headed home, but it gave me that time to feel like I was walking home like all the other kids who walked home. I was crazy. I'm weird like that. And I understand it at this point why I did it. But at that point, I didn't really get it. And my mom's, bless her heart, she would go, yeah, all right. So she would, and you know Joyce, she is equally as beloved by you as I love her. So she would pull over and, you know, maybe Jamil was in the car, KB. I don't know if Shawnee was born yet, but Jamil would be in the car and she would just unlock it and I would just walk home. And I did it a lot. So I said, this is crazy because I'm walking around this neighborhood in Monaco where it's so freaking fly. I don't like this part about what I'm about to say. They don't have any homeless people in Monaco, KB. I don't trust a place that doesn't have homeless people. I don't. I would prefer that a place learn how to house homeless people. but I don't trust a city that doesn't have homeless people.
Mm-hmm.
So they actually removed the homeless people and scoot them over a couple miles, which is France. Monaco is that. They're like, nah. So I'm already feeling a way about that, but I am enjoying the blessings or God reminding me of what I've become. And I see this and I think about when I be allowed to walk around. And here I am walking around. For damn sure, when I was walking around off Snapfinger and Wesley Chapel to the crib, which was only but from here to there wasn't any thought about my face being on anything of such proportion that it would stop me in my tracks, literally while I'm walking. And yet here I am in Monaco being stopped literally in my tracks. And I look up and I was able to keep it into perspective like I always have, which is a blessing to be, you know. I remember Terrence J said to me one time, which I thought was super cool. He said, yo, the bigger you get, the more humble you are. And I think for me, yeah, because I'm like, you can't go but as high as God kind of already made me when I was 11. The gifts were already there. I got a crazy work ethic. I could have made a choice and not been, you know, a nutty worker. So yeah, that was my choice, but the gifts were already there. So I kind of knew at that point, KB, I was like, okay, I think I'm at a place. And it's crazy because we did an interview, me and 50, about maybe a day later, maybe a day before. Let's not make it before or after. But after the interview, we were getting on an elevator, and the shot you can find on Google, and it's 50 in front of me on the escalator going down the escalator. I'm behind him, but he overtook me. Is that where he went past me?
Yes.
With a whisper, and you know how big he is, and I'm not a small dude, as you know. He whispered to me. He said, you knew you had it. You knew you had it. And I thought to myself, KB, 50 Cent is one of the most genius people that God has ever made. And he survived 9 bullets for an absolute purpose. There is an absolute purpose that he's still on earth. How would he, in his right thinking mind, he is definitely one of the brighter candles on the cake. How could he ever think that you were gaining an actor to play one of the most complex characters? Shout outs to Jimmy Gandolfini, Bryan Cranston, Idris Elba, I forget Michael's last name, who played Dexter on Showtime, but barring, I might have missed a couple people, but Ghost is in that. I'm talking about just writing. I'm not talking about my talent. I'm talking about what Courtney wrote before I even touched it, before Joseph did what he did as Tommy, before Naturi as Tasha, and Leela as Angela, and so on and so forth. Like, before Omari's gift of big box was put with the writing, he already was written as one of the most. And in my mind, I'm thinking, 5, you could have never hired a dude that didn't realize he had it. Are you kidding me? And what I realized is that he grew up in a way where you say it when you have it. And I didn't grow up like that. And so he expected me to come to the show 3 years prior to Monaco saying like, nigga, I know I'm it. No, I wasn't raised. That's not who I am. So it was a very interesting moment, because I realized he sort of expected that from me, because bless his heart, that's what you had to have in Southside Jamaica, Queens, in the way that he grew up. The Cater is definitely not that different from it, but I didn't grow up in the same way that 50 grew up. So it was a great moment for me as a brother to look at him and really as a picture. He's on the escalator in Monaco. I'm behind him. Any of the fans watching this could look it up. And he overtook me on the escalator with a whisper of like, dude, you knew. And I'm like, yeah, I didn't know where we would go. 5 knew that. He always says that to all of us. He knew how big the show would become.
And even bigger. And even bigger from that moment.
And even bigger. Got bigger. But I had to have known that I could hold the weight of whatever he needed me to hold as the quarterback. KB, I had to know that. So that was definitely the moment where I said, life has changed for me. We were in Monaco, and that's when I knew.
Well, let me just say this, how big it got, because you earned the 2018, 2019, and 2020 NAACP Image Award for leading actor in a drama series. Who does that for 3 years? Who does that?
Crazy.
Oh.
Crazy. That was super cool, man. Once the fans got to vote, that's the other thing. Kathleen, there's been a lot of those NAACP Image Award ceremonies that have been special to me, even prior, of course, to winning.
Yes. I
One of,
have that too. For being Mary Jane, you
yeah.
were nominated twice.
So I'm nominated twice for being Mary Jane. And then I think I
Yes.
was nominated for, we were nominated as a show, a variety show for Verses and Flow.
Okay. Okay.
So it's been those moments. I met Sabrina that year, Sabrina Fulton, right after Trayvon passed away, and she told me how much of a fan he was, and I
Uh-huh.
think he loved Gridiron Gang, which a lot of kids around that age, of course, they like that movie that I did with
Mhm.
Exhibit and Dwayne Johnson, and
Mhm.
so there were and shout outs to my brother Dwayne Johnson for having just purchased the football league that he just bought, which is freaking crazy. Yeah, like yesterday
Wow.
or 2 days ago, I
Yes.
don't know. I'm like, that's good money, right? That's
Yes, sir.
that's good money.
Absolutely. Yes,
So
sir.
there were special moments, but I think it's even more special when the Image Awards allow fans to vote. Like
Yes.
some sort of a Golden Globe moment, for the Golden Globes. If you ever win a Golden Globe or even nominated, you know that your peers, your colleagues are kind of celebrating or singing your praises, which is incredible. That the
Oh,
fans
yeah.
were allowed for the NAACP Image Award, they were allowed to say, "Hey, this is who we want," 3 times in a row. I mean,
And they wanted you.
I say it all the time. The fans have. I never thought I'd have fans beyond the 20 to 30 friends that I was able to choose. We can't choose our family, but we can choose our friends. But to have fans that extend to the greater parts of millions in quantity is just.
Well, a lot of them are on here today, and if you could see all the hearts
Oh
and
man,
smiles
I
and
just look down.
everything, it's just crazy. I mean, they love you. They love you, and
And I love y'all back. I
there's a
love all of
reason
y'all
for
back.
that. There's a reason for the authenticity of the character. You made us crazy. We cried. We laughed. We got angry. We wanted to protect you. We didn't want you to go to jail. I mean, you name it. It's like we were right there, but you brought that out of your fans with the authenticity of your performance every week,
Mm.
every week, every week.
I kind of felt like I just owed it to him. I went in KB thinking when I went to the Met Gala, that's another moment, obviously, right, where you go, oh man, like life has changed a bit.
Mm-hmm.
And I went with Dapper Dan, which was even more precious and special for me. Yeah, he invited me. He took me with the family. Jelani, his son, has become a little brother to me. And I went with my dear friend, Regina Hall, which was great. She was a part of our table. And it was just a really nice moment. And 21 Savage, who, as you know, is no stranger to ATL. So it was nice. But I remember being there and somebody saying to me, yo, you did community service with the role of Ghost. And it stopped me in my tracks as much as, like, if you nail certain words with me, like, they were like, yeah, you did. Your community outreach was like the way that you played Ghost. And where it really rocked me, it's one of the greatest compliments somebody could give you. But what you realize is, to the point I made originally, we're not essential as workers, as actors. But if I was giving whatever I was that allowed somebody to say, your community service was this character, then you're like, I was essential to a group of people, and I must specify it. I knew going in that specifically, KB, we had never seen a black, and no slights to what Idris did with Stringer Bell, or what my brilliant friend and what Harris did with Avon Barksdale in that same show. The Wire is all forgotten about as to how great and prolific it was, especially for our people. But in terms of complexity of characters played in ways that are great film actors, which obviously I'm included in that category of being a film actor, but Denzel has been able to play some of these more complex characters or whatnot. And Don Cheadle for sure, and Will Smith and Jeffrey Wright, absolutely. And
Oh my
Overwood,
God, yes.
I mean, absolutely. And so you have these great actors that have played these very interesting characters. At this point, Chad Boseman, even John David playing in Black Klansman and Denzel's son, like very interesting, duplicitous characters that we don't necessarily smell on our skin color typically. But I went in with a specific point of reference, and that was, we don't have a reference for the guy who looks like Omari, which to me is black. So that means Yaphet Koda's skin color to Wesley Snipes' skin color. over to Colin Powell's skin color. Like, we have a range of skin color. We're black.
That's
And
it.
so, and President Obama's black, even though his mom was white, he's black. My children are the same, as you know, KB. So for me, I thought black women and black men, women always first in my brain, always. We just never saw anything like what Courtney has given me. It's a lob. She's Derek Fisher and I'm Shaq. If I missed a dunk, what the hell, oh? So I just poured all of those things that I felt like. I used 50. I used Joseph, who is this talented kid from Chicago, as you know. And I said, help me build Ghost, Courtney, 50, Joseph. And we sort of, the four of us kind of, you know, I'm such a researcher. I'm so artsy fartsy, as you know, that I kind of, like an athlete, I just started really weaving and everything. And I made him, I've never said it before, but I'll say it because it's you. I never said it publicly. I've told 9 people. The 9th was Ninth Wonder. How ironic. Ninth Wonder hit me the other day about music because he knows I do music and we've done music together. And Ninth Wonder, I told, he's the last person I personally told this to, that I'm about to say to you as the 10th person, and then all of our beautiful fans. Whether you are a religious person or not, whether you're Christian or not, whether you're Jewish, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Buddhist, Hindu, what have you, the biblical reference, because I was raised in the Bible, that I used is what made Ghost so unique, in my opinion. I made him Saul, trying to figure out how to become the better himself, which would have been Paul, after being stricken off the horse.
Off the horse, right.
Because
On the
he's a
Damascus
killer.
Road.
Saul was a freaking killer.
Yeah.
And I thought, I told my moms first. I was in Houston on a club appearance when I told moms, and then I told again, 9 people only. I remember the count. Ninth Wonder 2 days ago was the 9th person I told. And my objective was, Kathleen, was to never make the guy become Paul, because we lose a show then. You got to root for him to try to get away from the bad. So I never wanted him to, I didn't want him to become a guy that, you know, and so I happen to be raised in God, and I happen to be a poet, and I happen to be street enough, and I grew up in Decatur, and I happen to come from a rough uncle, and I come from a clean pops, and the rough uncle at times was cleaner than the clean pops, and that's in and of itself a poem. And I'm that, and I'm an athlete who meets a poet who meets, I'm just a lot of crazy ass things, and I get that.
You are multifaceted.
To play Ghost, you would have had to be that guy, and I just wanted to give our people, I figured white people would follow suit, yellow people, red people, hell, green people, if green means that. And I just wanted to give our people a guy that they had never seen before. And I knew that I was a guy that a lot of people haven't necessarily seen. So if I put Omari, if I put the big ass O in the middle of Ghost, how deep is it? It's spelled Ghost. The big ass O in the middle is what my objective was. And we walked away, and I heard a lot of people in life say, I've never seen a guy like Ghost before, and there'll never be another one. And
no, you
that's
were
an amazing thing to hear.
Complex beyond our imaginations, you know, truly.
It's great. My mom, when moms would call and be like, I'm trying to figure out what and she forgets she's talking to her son, you know, she's talking about a piece of puzzle called a character instead of actually on the phone with her son. That's when you kind of know. And shout outs to Courtney and the writing crew and the producers and Stars as a Network and all my castmates who were incredible. And all of those forgotten about in the first 3 years, KB. A lot of those, Enrique Murciano, right? And Luis Antonio Ramos, who played Ruiz. And
oh, man,
Dominic
yes.
Colon,
So many
who played
folks.
Casanova. Like, we had incredible, incredible actors.
Yes, I think you're making me want to go back and start all over. I think I sent you a text and told you I was just going to start over.
I haven't done it because, you know, I'm playing so many characters in between on the summers, and then I go back.
Yeah.
I put Ghost back on. We finish. Then in the summer, I take Ghost off. I mean, I was all over the place. But I need to go back, and now that I'm removed and separated somewhat, I need to go back and really keep it. Yeah.
Yes. So look, now we only have, I promised your folks I would keep this to an hour. So we've got 6 minutes left.
Okay. 6 minutes, Dougie Fresh, you on. 6 minutes, Kathleen, you on.
So I usually have these power words, and I didn't get that from you guys, but you know what? I'm going to skip past that, and I'm going to see if we can just get maybe 1 or 2 questions for you.
Yeah, let's do 2.
That comes up in the thread. because
and I'm okay with 3 because 3 is a charm. So let's go with 3. You can get
okay,
3
that means
questions.
you have to keep your answers to exactly
I
2
got you.
minutes.
I got you.
Okay, so question coming up is someone says, I love the cap. This is a great interview. My friend is in love with you. Okay, we didn't need that part there.
Thank you, friend.
Ghost. He said, power won't be the same without Ghost. And yes, something. Okay, so I guess you folks don't have any questions for
Anybody got
Omari.
questions?
It says,
Somebody,
"Are you?" Somebody says, "Are you dead?"
I'm alive. I'm right here. What you mean? I'm here.
Ghost, are you dead? I'm not going to answer that one
Yeah.
there.
Somebody give us a question. My mom says, "Long live Ghost." I feel you. Where
Okay.
did you pledge at? I pledged at the University of Georgia, Zeta Pi chapter. My brothers were Tavares Stevens, Anthony Tillman, and James Bailey, who Kathleen also very much knows. She knows Tavares too. But yes, I am only one of 4 online, so we had a real close knit pledge process. Absolutely.
Okay.
Would you come back to? I have a great concept for you. Somebody said somebody trying to pitch, Kathleen. Shoot your shot.
Oh no, they do that all the time. Yes, I noticed on your Instagram thread. What is your next project, Omari?
So the
What's
next
next
project
for
coming.
you?
So many things are coming out, guys. A lot of people expect, they don't necessarily remember that you go away and work and then you guys see it. So again, as I told Kathleen when we started in, Nate Park and I, we did a great project. Just a beautiful piece. So that's coming out very soon. It's called American Skin. And it went over to the France Film Festival. Theo Rossi was in it as well. Maurice McCrae, great movie. And then after that will be the Netflix piece, Army of the Dead, with Dave Bautista. Theo Rossi was also in that. And then Spell with Loretta Devine. So I got a lot of things coming out. COVID obviously changed things a bit, but all of these things are soon coming. And then there's about 7 projects, some of which I'm doing with Kevin Hart as well. I'll be producing with Kevin. I'm trying to put that hat on. So it's a lot of stuff coming for sure. And then the music is coming for the fans. The music is coming for y'all, for the culture, but for the fans specifically.
Okay, so someone says, would you be willing to come back on this call after the hour ends for maybe like 10 minutes?
Yeah, I
That
can do
time?
that. I can do it for
You
you,
can do
KB.
that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's why we love you. Okay, so what we're going to do, y'all, is we're going to sign off now. We've got about 2 minutes left, and we're going to sign off and just give me 5 minutes so that I can download this into Instagram so that you
Yeah.
can see it later.
Yeah.
And then when you come back and I'll come back and maybe 670 people will come back with us. We love you all. Thank you so much, Omari. Mwah, mwah. I'll see you in
Thank
5
you,
minutes,
KB.
okay?
Thank you,
Thank
Mom.
you. All right. Bye, y'all.